Oh, thanks, Naomi, for this. It's brilliant. I've just been reading, I don't even know how I came across you. I don't know how I even came across you. It's just really like, you just popped up and I just like looked on your Facebook page and went on your website and I just thought, this girl's amazing. I just thought, right, I'm just going to be cheeky and get in touch with you.
Whenever I get a review from someone, it's always about the connection they feel to something. So like with Wendy's mugs, especially, people just want to hold them. It's so funny at markets. Like people come up to my stall and they just pick it up and they just hold it like this, and they're like, "Oh, is it okay to do that?" It's like, yeah, that's totally okay. And again, that's hard to do through a website because it's such touchy feely stuff, and that's hard if you can't do that. That's why I love doing markets, is you get to touch and feel stuff in real life, like jewelry you kind of want to try on and mugs you want to hold. But once people have got it, that's all the feedback is like, oh, I get so excited about my mug. Oh, and it's just a mug, but it isn't. It's more than just a mug. You know what I mean? It makes me very happy.
It's Wendy's lovely as well, and it you know, you can, it comes through, and that's what we were saying before. You know, she's a really calm person. I've done a couple of courses with her, you know, and gone, had a go, and I'm absolutely useless. But
me too. I love it. Me too. I've done a course there and I love it, but I'm not going to be turning into my own pottery range anytime soon. But that's the joy of making, in a way. It's like I try a lot of things, and a lot of them I'm never going to do professionally, but it's just the joy of making. And people who come to workshops, I think, often come with this like, oh, I'm no good at this. And I used to do the same. I didn't train in art. I'm no good at this. But actually, anyone can make it. But it's just enjoy making. It's not really about, if you're not thinking of it. I always used to think of it as, could I sell this at the end? And actually it's not really about that. It's about like, do you enjoy doing it? And everyone came. I did my first lino printing course here and I was really nervous. I'm like, how can I teach lino printing? Well, I did it and 6 women came and it was brilliant. And they created such amazing designs and they were all completely new to it. So I like to think I've made some new lino printing addicts in the country. But it's just about doing stuff with your hands. It's very therapeutic. It's very calming. You get lost in it for hours, and I think that's a sign of doing something you love, is when you like look up and 2 hours have gone and you're like, oh, I didn't realize the time had gone. So I came to this really by chance, in not a very pleasant way, in a way, because of what happened with my daughter's birth. But actually I feel like it was always there. So because I grew up in the middle of nowhere, my dad's a really keen gardener, and I feel like I was always outdoors and I lost all that connection to nature when I moved to London and was working in horrible corporate jobs, but I kind of got stuck in that rut, as you do, with parents going, don't, work your way up the ladder, don't take any risks, blah, blah, blah. But every evening I'd go on craft workshops. So I always used to go and learn stuff in the evenings, like everything, ceramics, photography. I was like, I love learning new craft skills. And through doing my marketing, I met quite a few makers and shared their stories. So Rose Chul, who makes my baby moccasins, I met her probably 12 years ago through my marketing job. I did a big profile on her and I just thought she was amazing. And we did a skill swap. So she asked me to do her website and marketing, and she taught me to make moccasins in exchange because she didn't have any money. And I've just always been drawn to that kind of making by hand and people who do that. So the name These Two Hands, like years ago, I thought, well, I might do a blog on being someone who loves to make stuff but isn't very good at it, but just loves making with my hands. And then I never did that. And then when Lucy was born and I sort of was nearly paralyzed, I was given art therapy on Bristol Council, which was amazing. So it was I think I had about 6 months in the end, because they could just see that it was really helping me. And it was like 10 women who'd all had various traumatic experiences, not necessarily through birth. It might be an abusive partner or whatever it was. It was like 10 women who just needed to be there so they all had babies. That's what we had in common. And there was a creche there, so Lucy could go in the creche for a couple of hours, and we were just given free reign to make, and we were taught decoupage and felting and all sorts. It was like my idea of heaven. And I started printing bags and making ribbon teethers for Lucy because I'd seen her playing with ribbons and just little things. And friends started going, oh, I like that, I'd buy that, I'd like to buy that. And I thought, right. And I tried to go back into my consulting background after Lucy was born. And I hate it. I really, deep down, I've always hated it. But after she was born, it became like unbearable to carry on with it. I just couldn't do it. So I was like, well, actually, this is really what I want to do. I want to make stuff. I know a lot of makers through my old world. I've always wanted to promote other makers. I have the ability to build a website, which not every maker does. My husband's amazing. He builds websites, so he's great with all that. I really want to do this. And so I started with me and 5 makers, Rose and 4 in Bristol that I'd met at markets. and now it's 25 women and 1 man. I always forget Jem. 1 man and 25 women and me. And I've developed my own making a lot more. So I've studied lino printing, and now I do a lot of lino printing. It's always been leaf based. I've become known as the leaf lady. So whenever I do a craft workshop and they go, "What do you want to make?" I always make a leaf. It's become like, oh God, not a leaf again. But I always make a leaf.
I saw your. I'm just opening it door because I saw your. You'd done an apron on, was it something on, you'd put it over a chair and it had got lovely green.
Yeah, that's the tea towels I do. Yeah, so they're my linen tea towels. Yeah, that fern was a proper work of, like, it took me so long to carve that, but it was real, like, yeah, it was amazing. I love doing that because I love fern leaves. So that was probably my most complicated but my favorite print, actually. So I've done pine cones, ferns, dandelion, those other ones, are dandelion print that I've done. So I kind of just developed that, and I love that's kind of, out of all the different things that I've learned, that's what I've really kind of fallen for, that and pressed flower artwork. So I've just been, this afternoon I've been making up flower presses. So I make wooden flower presses. I've had one since I was 6. I got back into using that, really started becoming obsessed with pressed flower crafts, and now I've sold more in the last 3 weeks than I've sold in a year, actually. It's been like, people are really going for flower presses, which is great.
I love it. I just love it. I just love everything on your website. It just brought back so many memories for me of, like, you know, the sort of stuff we used to do when we were little, and, you know, and we used to do flower presses, and I just loved it. When I read your about page, I just thought, oh my gosh, it's just like, you know, when you just think, gosh, you know, I completely get everything you're doing, and I think it's really great. I really love it. And
thank you. I mean, when you asked about, like, what you learned in childhood, the thing I've really realized over the last sort of 6 months probably is, it was no more than that, but especially since having my own kid, is how much of this is rooted in what I did as a child and that I kind of lost contact with, but it's always been there. Because it was just the silly things like making, you know, being always out in the garden. We grew up in the middle of nowhere, so there was no telly, so it was always outside, a lot of nature based. And I found all these books that I had as a kid that my mum gave me, and they were all like Guide to Wildflowers, Guide to Trees, it's just like, and I didn't even remember having those, but it's just, you know, that's what I've always had there, like meadow grass. I'm obsessed with meadow grasses, but I think that's because I grew up in the middle of like meadows full of grass. So it feels like my big thing with These Two Hands is, it didn't start out necessarily with such a nature focus. That's kind of come over time, where I've realised that nature is as big a therapy for me as making. They're the 2 best forms of therapy, I think, being outdoors in nature and making with your hands. I feel that they're both forms of like ancient knowing. This is something that I've been thinking about a lot recently through some coaching I've been doing. I feel like there's something inside us that was meant to use our hands to make stuff, and it was meant to be outdoors. And we've all lost touch with that a bit through being behind screens and doing desk jobs, and like losing that connection with just that kind of, with the land and with our own, like, with our own hands. I think we feel like we've lost connection with our hands. And so those are, like, for me, the 2 biggest ways of connecting yourself and grounding yourself. And yeah, and so I want to bring those 2 together. So that's why everything's kind of seed heady and leafy, because I want to bring as much nature inside. If you can't get out, you can still feel nature by having a jar of wildflowers and a picture of a tree. You can feel connected to nature. But also I want to encourage people where possible to get more outside. So I've got quite a lot of things like the enamel mugs and the wild baking and stuff, which is to more get people, like, you know, outside as well. So it's kind of the 2, bringing the outside in, but also trying to get more connection with the outside world, and giving, but a lot of planting and giving back as well is what, yeah. So I'm trained in permaculture as well. So I did a permaculture gardening course, and I've just finished a grow leader course. So I'm kind of getting more into, like, growing the flowers that I press, and I'm creating a cut flower garden at the moment in the studio, so I can sort of do more like wildflower growing. It's kind of like, yeah, I feel like,
how do you fit all that in? And you've got a daughter as well, and how would you do it all?
And a music studio.
Your days longer than mine.
We don't really stop, that's for sure. And we haven't slowed down, and everyone's like, oh, I'm enjoying some time for, like, reading and gardening. We haven't really slowed down because we run a music studio as well, so that's where I am now. So my husband and I are both musicians, that's how we met. And I teach piano, and he teaches, like, everything really, and he's a wedding singer, so right now he's doing nothing. But we have so we have we teach 100 kids every Saturday in this space. Like, we teach music as well, so it's kind of,
have you got a parachute hanging there? I see a parachute.
That is a parachute. There's a warehouse building, so that kind of makes it feel less warehousey. But literally before this all happened, I just opened a new venue space called the Engine Room, which is opposite our studio, which was going to be it's for product photography. I just did my photo shoot there. It's for music videos and stuff, but it's also for my craft workshops. So and I ran 2 there, and then all of this happened. I was due to have botanical drawing would have been the weekend just gone, and willow weaving was due to be next week, making a, where is it? I've been photographing like a willow trug, foraging trug. So I'm trying to bring in more. I don't run it. I do some of the printing ones, but I bring in other people to do those. So so I'm trying to work out how to move. I don't know if I can move that online, because the whole point for me was to try and get more face-to-face connection, because I like being with people and talking face-to-face rather than virtually. And obviously now I can't do that. So I'm not sure how I'm going to do those yet. It depends on what the distancing rules are as well, because it's a massive space. If we had like 4 people in a workshop, I could still technically maybe run
one in each corner.
Yeah, exactly. Have a table in each corner of the room. We could kind of maybe do it. But so I'm not sure what's going to happen with that. But because one thing I just launched was a free monthly craft afternoon tea club, which I've wanted to do for years, and it's kind of connecting back to that old idea of women sitting around a table making a quilt together and sharing stories. That kind of thing is what I wanted it to be. And so I make the cake and everyone comes and they bring a craft project. So the first one we've only done one so far, and I had 6 women turn up who I'd never met, and one of them actually lived around the corner from me, but we'd never met. And I did the pressed flower tea light holders. I like to have something there in case they don't have a craft, to make them feel like at ease, like here's something you can do. And then they all opened their bags and brought out like a cushion they were working on, and someone brought some shelves to paint, and someone just wanted to chat. That was fine. Someone started doing some illustrations, and it was just, and then we just talked about anything and everything. And I really want to develop that more, that kind of like crafting conversations, sharing stories, that kind of, yeah, almost. And I'd like it to become like sharing skills. So I'd like people to come who have a craft that I don't know, that can then teach the group, but it's all very much free. It's not like it's not a paying for a course thing. That's just like come and make, really. So I have a lot of ideas still to be realized.
What is the main thing you're doing at the minute then? Is it the workshops? Because you actually sell other people's products, and then I don't know whether we call them products because they're far too beautiful to be given a name like that. I know one of the ladies on who you sell, I know Wendy Calder, ceramic. Yeah, Wendy, that might be even how I've met,
Maybe. Yeah, because I've done her open studios. She does an open studio Christmas market, and I've done that both years as well. She's a very good friend, and she was one of the first 5 that I stocked actually, but she now makes some exclusive. So what I've tried to move more towards is people making things exclusively for me. So I have an idea for a design or a colorway, and so it's one that you can't get elsewhere. So that's kind of, so I want to promote what they do, but also have some stuff that's exclusive to me, basically. So actually I'm actually still getting quite a few orders at the moment. So most of my business used to come through markets. I did market every weekend. I did Tobacco Factory Market, Clevedon Market, as many markets as I could, because I wasn't really getting on anything online. But since all of this happened, I've actually been getting some orders online. So that's been keeping me busy, really, because I haven't got a lot of time to work on these 2 hands at the moment with a 4-year-old. It's a very small window. And a lot of the orders have been for stuff that I make. So a lot of my time has been spent printing up stuff and making up flower presses, as I say. It's been really popular. So that's been my focus. And the workshops, I've sent out a lot of craft kits. So I've translated 3 of my NH craft workshops into kits for families to do, and I've sent out a lot of those. So I want to eventually do an online version of that, probably with my little girl actually, where we do it together, and people can then watch the video if they've got the kit, or they can probably get their own. They might have the materials already. They could get the materials, or they can get the kit, however they want to do it. So I want to do those. I'm not sure how to do them, whether Facebook Live or Zoom or how to do those yet, but I want to do one for each kit so that people can access that material as well. So that's a whole thing I didn't have before this happened, and I never thought of putting them into a postable kit, but it seems to work really well. They have a little how-to guide and all the materials, and so I've been doing those.
So what sort of things are you making with your nature kits, just so anybody who's listening to this can, because obviously I'll put the information and your links in and everything.
Yeah, so the 3 I do at the moment are pressed. I'm obsessed with pressed flowers, as I mentioned on my flower presses. So the pressed flower tea light holders is the most popular, and that's where I send out lots of glass jars and the craft glues and a selection of all my pressed flowers and leaves and twines, and you can make these lovely tea light holders. And I send out the tea lights as well. You can make a selection of tea light holders, and they look so beautiful when you light them. The light shines through the flowers and the leaves. They just look stunning. So it's one of my kits. Leaf printing. I've always loved doing leaf printing, and you actually have to do it with the right kind of paint. There's certain kind of acrylic paints which work on leaves that not everyone might have, so I send out loads of different coloured acrylic paints. Metallics look especially good, like metallic paints look beautiful, and lots of bright coloured card, and you display them as like wall art basically with your leaf prints. And then my other one is one that I used to do workshops with kids of upcycle plant pots, so tin cans, which most people probably have a lot of at home at the moment, decoupage papers, napkins, feathers, lovely things. You decorate them and make them into plant pots or pen pots and things like that. So that's another kit that I've been sending out. So the things that I've done as workshops that I have the materials to be able to do like as a kit, basically. So those are the 3 that I've been doing.
And that's all your own creativity, isn't it? Because I was reading your Facebook page and you put the one, you know, the when I sent you the message and you'd put about lilac and you'd written something about how you'd sort of been talking yourself out of, you know, selling or, you know, putting your own things across because you felt, I don't know whether you felt like you weren't good enough or you didn't have the confidence, and then you suddenly realised that we're all creative. Do you want to tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah. So I think I've always, since I did my own prints, I have a really bad tendency of creating really lovely prints and then not actually selling my own stuff or hiding it because I'm not qualified or trained as a maker. I've just come to it very late in life, and I absolutely love it. But I stalk so many people who are what I consider to be proper professional makers that I always kind of hide my stuff. And then I got quite a lot of orders for my stuff in the past few weeks, and I was like, oh, maybe people do actually like them. And the response has been really, the feedback when I put the pictures out was really lovely too. So I think, it's just believing in myself as a real maker when I haven't got a certificate of making or like a qualification. I've just kind of found what I love, and I'm doing that. So I think I'm starting to share it more.
I don't mean to undermine people who've got qualifications. I mean, there are professional people out there doing lots of things, but I don't think it means that people who are not qualified should not do things, you know. And I mean, to me, it's all about where it comes from. I mean, it's clearly coming from your heart because you love to do it, and that makes such a difference. I mean, you could go somewhere and, I mean, if you're a very sensitive person, you can pick up, can't you, that sort of feeling that comes with it. You know, you do, don't you? People, some people are more intuitive than others, but you certainly can feel a warmth from things.
Yeah, I feel like that's one of the things I wanted to get across with my collection was the person who made your thing. Like, I've just bought an art print from a friend. Well, I've met her. She's the daughter of the woman whose soaps and balms I stock, so I've kind of met her through that, and she's a local artist and she does beautiful prints, and I just bought myself one, and it's not really the time to be investing in art as such, but it just makes me it makes me happy to look at because it's a gorgeous print of someone picking wildflowers, but also it's the fact that I know it's her and her story, and I know how happy it makes her to sell the prints. It's the whole connection. I think, you know, people like Wendy's Ceramics, I know Wendy really well. I just placed another big order with her because her stuff's been selling really well, and she, you know, made her day that she's got work coming in. And so for me, it's like, it's not just the mug, it's not just the print, it's the person behind it. And I think there's a lot more joy to be had when you connect with the things around you than just to buy like something that's mass produced, really. And that's really what I wanted to do with These Two Hands, because it is about those unique details you get when something's handmade. No two are the same, and I love that. You know, some people might want it to be exactly the same, but I love the fact that every mug is a slightly different shape or a slightly different glaze, or I love those little, people might say imperfections, but I find that's the character of it all. So that's kind of what I really wanted to get people to connect to that more. I think if you have stuff in your home that you connect to, then it makes you a lot happier in general, I think.
I completely agree. I completely agree. I mean, most of the stuff in my house has been made by somebody or passed down. If I sort of like did a guided tour around this place, everything's sort of been made. I mean, that picture there is the seahorse. I did that at school, and it's and that's me on the picture sat at a desk. And then, everything around is just, there's a picture over there Mum made behind me there, that's silk print, and she's an artist. Stuff all over that people have made or passed down from great grandparents, and you end up with so much stuff, but it's just like, I can't bear to throw it away, and it's somebody's made it and looked after it and passed it.
I'm definitely not minimalist. You get some homewares companies that are very Scandi and minimalist. I'm definitely not. I'm very someone described me as a messy perfectionist, but I am. It's a lot of wild stuff, but I kind of like that. Nothing really matches, but it's all got a story. That's what I like.
Except that sometimes I wish I was a minimalist, because it's easier when you want to do some cleaning, but I only do cleaning when I have to. No, that's fine. No, I'm very clean, but I completely get you. Where is your where are you based? Do you have a shop or are you on online?
I would love a shop one day. I really would. It's just the overheads, and it's not doable for me. So that's why I do so many markets, really. But I have all my stock here at my music studio. So we have a music studio in Brislington. So I live in Brislington, just off the Wick Road by sort of the Nightingale Valley, which is like a little nature reservey bit of Bristol. So I love it. It feels like the country. I've got a goat opposite and I can hear chickens in the morning, so it feels like countryside. Emery Road, which is just off the Bath Road basically, and that's our music studio. So I have all my stock here, and that's where I do all my making as well. So I'm here every day. Normally we've got bands in the evening normally, but we're shut now, so so I come here and do my making. So I've got lots of space, which is nice, and I store everything here, and it smells amazing right now because I've taken over one of the rooms for my stock, and it's got all wild sages, soaps and balms, and just the whole place smells like a
nice.
which is nice. So yeah, so I would love a shop, because even though I love doing markets, there's a lot of the setup and the breakdown, and carrying my stock all the time is quite exhausting. So I would love to be able to have it in one place, but right now yeah, it's not doable.
I've had to go to markets. I know I used to sell hand painted snuff bottles that were painted inside. With the, you know, like crystal bottles that they used to paint these absolutely beautiful, intricate things inside from China, because I used to live in Singapore for years and I knew
okay.
So I did that for a while and I've done other stuff, but yeah, so I know. So I'm going to actually
yeah
Sorry?
I love doing markets. I think it's only now that I've realised, now I can't do them much, so I've realised how much I love doing them. I do really love, because I love meeting people and seeing them, like how excited they are about the stuff and sharing the stories. I really love doing it. So I would definitely, even if I had a shop, I'd like to still do some, but yeah, it wouldn't be, I don't have to lug so much stuff around. We have a van now, which helps, because before trying to get in the car was quite a challenge, but yeah.
Do you miss living in somewhere a little bit more rural?
Yeah, this is a conversation my husband and I have quite often, because I would love to be in the middle of nowhere. He's a Londoner, born and bred, so we want to have compromise. But actually, Bristol has been a really good compromise for us, because I was in London for about 13 years before we moved here, and I wasn't sure how he would adjust, but he loves it as much as I do. It's just really, it's got kind of the best of both worlds, because we've got countryside everywhere and a lot of green, and a lot of green projects as well. So a lot of garden related stuff that I've been able to do and volunteering, and I feel like we've got best of both at the moment, so I think it's a good place to be. But ultimately, I would like to be in a tiny cottage in the middle of nowhere, basically, with acres of land. Yeah, that's what I would like. But yeah, but I mean, but we have so much. Even though our garden is tiny, I mean, in London we didn't even have a garden, so we've got a garden, and we have the woods on our doorstep. So we have lots of green, and I have a stake in a community orchard. So there's 5 or 6 families now, I think, and we share a community orchard in the woods, and I have 3 raised beds that they're allowing me to attempt to grow veg in at the moment, so with varying degrees of success, but so I get to go there a lot at the moment because no one else goes, so I've got kind of a little orchard space as well, so that's really nice.
So the products that you said you can smell, that I wish we could go beyond just screen and noise and have smells as well. It'd be great. Are they things you've made yourself?
No, that's Julie. So Julie is Wild Sage is her company. She's an amazing woman, and she I met her through a local market, and she has a big barn out near Hay-on-Wye kind of way, and she makes all these amazing natural organic vegan soaps and shampoo bars, and I only use her stuff now. I used to have really bad rosacea, so when my dad got really sick, my whole face kind of exploded in this weird red rosacea, which I found out later. Yeah, and it still flares up when I get stressed. But I use Julie's argan balm on my face now, and it's completely fixed it. And it's just because there's no rubbish in it. It's just all natural. She grows it all. She grows all the flowers in the garden. I mean, it's just lovely. So I stock her stuff, and Bee from Bahobo, who's in Froome, she does amazing sprays, like sleep sprays, one chakra spray which I use as a perfume, and she has lots of balms and stuff, so I stock both of their stuff, and that's what smells really, really great. So, but I wish I could do that too, because it's really hard to sell things like that online when it smells amazing, but you really need to smell it.
You need to sample it. Paula, who was one of the contributors, and she's a good friend of mine on Carry Forth, she does that. She grows, and she puts her own things together, and she's written on her introduction, it was like out of necessity because she didn't have a lot of money, and she started to do her own stuff, organic stuff, and so she's on the website as well. But we're not a website to sell stuff, we're just
share stories,
just share stories about people, and make sure people know what you're up to.
Said about sort of just about the olden days and like going back to some simple life and traditions, and that's what it really is for me. I have a weird little dream that I'd quite like to one day train to be a stonewaller, because I really like the idea of like making stone walls, because it's such there's hardly, and there's about 5 people left in this country that can actually do that, and I just really like the idea of
and another contributor on Carry Forth is my mate who I've grown up with, and he's called Stephen Horner, and he teaches stonewalling.
Does he?
Yeah. Up north. If you get a chance to watch, I made a video. I went, because my background was in conservation and ecology, and I went, I did a bit of hedge laying. But I've not done it for like 20 odd years. So I went up to see Stephen a few weeks before we had the close down, and he took me out, and I made a video about us hedge laying. So that might be quite entertaining if you get a chance to, if you get any time. But I'm sure he'd be happy to take you out stonewalling.
Love to. There's so many crafts still to learn. For me, that's the thing. There's so many amazing skills still to learn, and I want to learn them all at some point. And with the workshops that I've started to host, I'm really just bringing in the stuff I want to learn and bringing people in that do it. So I think
that might be the best way. That might be the best way to do it, because if it's something you're doing from your heart, then it's infectious, isn't it? You people are like, oh wow, you've got the energy there, and it's like really, really infectious. You're making me feel great just chatting to you and listening to everything you're doing, and you're putting me to shame. I'm thinking, good grief, I don't know. My days feel like an hour at the minute. They're just going. Right.
It's flying by. There's a lot that I'm not getting around to, but I'm just doing what I can basically, and it's just trying to accept what I can and can't do. But actually, the fact that our studio is shut, our music studio and all that side of our world is shut down, is giving me more time to do this in a way. Well, I've got Lucy full time, so not really, but she's off doing drum lessons and other bits and bobs at the moment with my husband. So at least there's like she can run around and I can have a change of scene. So yeah. We're trying to juggle it because we're both trying to keep things going and see what we can do. But yeah, fingers crossed. Yeah, there's a lot of work to be done to the studio in the meantime that's empty. So we're doing quite a lot of smashing and rebuilding bits and bobs. So yeah, there's plenty to get on with.
Well, I appreciate you taking time out to talk to me. And when I'm back in Bristol, I'll probably pop up and come and invite myself around for a cup of tea.
Yeah, do. I'll come to the afternoon tea.
Yeah.
It's really nice, and I can't wait to get back into those. I don't think I can make it work virtually, really, because the whole point is to be like face-to-face chats. But I really can't wait to do those again, because it was really lovely. It was exactly what I hoped it would be. So I love baking. So I love the chance to eat cake and make it's 2 of my favorite things to do, basically. Just about to be in Country Living's book that's coming out, which is quite exciting.
Wow.
So they photographed a bunch of my meadow plates they do a book every, I don't know how often it is, called Modern Rustic. It's a bookazine, they call it. Anyway, it's like a book stroke magazine. And that's coming out in May. So I think it'll be available soon. And so that's exciting. So
what's it called?
It's called Modern Rustic.
Modern, yeah, you did.
Modern Rustic.
Wow.
Yeah, they do it. I think they do it every twice a year, maybe. I want to say, I don't know. But anyway, that's been really lovely. The editor of Country Living likes my stuff, so she gets in touch, which is nice. So
your website's very beautiful as well. I wanted to mention, because I've had a look and it's gorgeous, and it just like made me feel nourished. I just felt really nourished.
Well, that's really nice to know. I finally, like in the last year, I invested in proper photography. There's an amazing photographer in Bristol called Jem Hicks, and she basically does nature stuff, mostly like wild suppers and stuff like that. And I just loved her feel. And I had this dream of creating a whole house in the meadow opposite the studio. Like I wanted to have a whole house in the field. So in autumn, we made that happen. We had a glorious sunny, we were so lucky. It was a gloriously sunny day, really hot for September. It was like end of August, September time. And we moved all the furniture out into the meadow, which was heavy, and we shot everything out, and it just looked so good, because I love the idea of being, if I could have a dining table in a field and eat out there every day, I would do that. So she just captured it perfectly. So then we just did our spring shoot, which was harder because it was February, but we kind of created a green wall in our new studio space, and she kind of made so she's got a really good feel about it. And that's been the best thing I've ever invested in, is getting someone to do proper. Before it was me and my phone and my cable wheel table, which was okay, but this is a whole other
that's where I am.
I still do that for so now anything new that comes in, I have to do like that, and it's fine, but it's just really nice to be able to work with someone who just kind of gets it. And I get to do a bit of styling. I quite like doing my nature styling, my Pinterest boards, and I get my sort of grasses, and I love doing that. So it gives me a bit of a creative outlet to do that as well. So yeah, it gives it, I feel like it's given it my own kind of feel to it, which before it didn't really have. So I like, yeah, I'm very, very pleased with it, how it looks at the moment. Yeah, that's good. It was definitely worth doing. Hello, Sweeper. My little one's sweeping up the floor.
Well, that's good. Well trained.
Very excited. Where she gets it from, definitely not me. Hello.
It is a really uncertain time, and you know, people are not really sure what's going on, really, you know, apart from, well, I won't go into it, but you know, I just think that a lot of people will have had a chance to sort of sit down and hopefully reassess the situations a little bit, and you know, hopefully a lot of good will come out of this.
Yeah, when you asked, like, what would I like to come out the other side, and I think for me it's been like, well, a slowing down, which we needed actually to be, and like a paring back to what really matters. It's really made us sort of focus in on how much do we actually really need, and what do we, you know, what is important to us. It's made me focus down on like my making, and actually that I can do that, and I've actually become more comfortable talking about what I do and what I sell, because that is what I do now, and I was never very good at doing that. Now I've realized that I can do that, and people won't run screaming going, oh, she talked about selling, which was what I used to think before. So I've actually, my following's grown quite a bit since I started talking about what I do, and it's like, oh yeah, so it's okay to do that. So I feel like I'm learning a lot about what I thought was true that isn't actually true in this time, and just adapting. I think I'm hoping people will hold on to the community. The community strength has been amazing. Like on our little street, we've been baking for each other. Like we've had pizza. Number 1 did pizza for the row. Number 2 did cakes. We did pesto, and there's been so much like community stuff happening. And I think I'm hoping we hold on to that. And I've spoken to more friends in the last few weeks than I've spoken to in years. And actually, rather than sending a WhatsApp message, we've actually picked up the Zoom or WhatsApp and seen each other's faces, and that's been really lovely. So I'm hoping we'll hold on to some of that connection side of it, and the slowing down and growing. Like everyone seems to be growing, and I've grown more seed from seed, and I hope people will start thinking about how can I be more self-sufficient and sustainable, and do more and grow more and give more back as well. So I think there could be a lot of good stuff to come out of it, I think, which we could never have predicted, but you know, no one can really have, we weren't prepared for this. And that's on the bad days, what I remind myself is that I could never have planned for this. So, you know, whatever happens, because you couldn't, you know, no one has a business strategy for this. You just got to kind of see what happens. And you know, what's been nice is I've been able to send out a lot of cards to people on behalf of people. So I've been writing some really, I mean, it's been quite emotional, because I've been writing some really personal messages for people, to people they can't see, or people who are ill, or NHS workers. And that's been, I feel very privileged to be able to do that for people as well. So that's been, yeah, a whole area that I didn't really realize I could do before, I suppose. So yeah.
What do you mean cards? What do you mean?
Well, I have like the plantable cards. So I sell cards that you can plant and you get wildflowers year after year. So they've been really, really popular. So there's seeds in the paper, and so people can get the cards and planting flowers. So but people have been asking me to send gifts to people, and they've been sending me the message to handwrite for them, because they can't get to the post office, or they can't get to the post box. So I've been sending a lot of messages to people, telling them how amazing they are, which is really like, I don't even know you, but you sound amazing. So it's really so that's been, and I didn't really do a lot of that before, so that's been really, really nice to do as well. So
lovely. You're like connecting people together.
Because a lot of people were supposed to be with, like Easter, we were supposed to be with all our family and siblings and all the grandparents and everything. There's a lot of people who are we were supposed to be in France right now. Our friend was moving to France. We were going to be there with him, moving his house, moving everything over. So there's a lot of people who are going to be seeing people that they can't now see, so they want to send something instead. So I feel lucky to be able to do that on behalf of people. So
what's your website address?
Oh yeah, it's these2hands.co.uk.
Okay.
So, yeah, and on all the social media, I'm These Two Hands UK. Not These Two Hands. That's someone completely different on social media. So I'm These Two Hands UK on social media, and the website's these2hands.co.uk.